Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody can hear me this morning. We've looking forward to our fifth week, I guess, of 6 weeks of webinars here live through Demio, um, posted on LinkedIn and advertised through our social media. Again, we're talking about attracting investors to mining companies. I'm excited today for our fifth installment of the series, and one of the most important topics, really, for public companies is the chance to market through video and audio, things that most people haven't even considered before mining or marketing mining companies. But something important I think we're going to cover today, and we'll get started in just a few moments. As always, any questions you may have during the webinar, please just add them to the chat area there on the right-hand side, and I will be happy to answer anything there at the end of our 15 minutes. My name again is Scott Briard. The pleasure of being the CEO of Stock Marketing. We've been up and running now for a few years. My team and I love what we do each day as we provide marketing services, online marketing services to mining companies. So with the stats that we've been reviewing each week, and again, we will touch on them today as well. Really want to, sort of focus on this hour and 46 minutes that the average Canadian is spending. Average North American, I believe, is the data on social media. And two key areas we're going to focus on today are YouTube and podcasts. And like I said, for mining marketers, these are two areas you're probably never considered. Most people assume, and most people in marketing assume, for a podcast, you need to record episodes weekly and, talk about your company. And it's not true. In fact, you can populate a podcast episode with audio content that your third-party interviews with your executives that are already happening. You can use this as audio to populate an episode. And regarding YouTube, many believe you need to get a camera, record yourselves, have an editor create a final video to post to YouTube, and this also isn't the case. You can actually use, if you have permission from any of the third-party interviews that your executives are doing, you can use this to populate a YouTube account. I think that both of these are incredibly important. And it sort of leads me to why I became involved in online marketing for public companies. Too many companies, especially mining companies, are paying third-party companies thousands of dollars per interview or ridiculous marketing fees to post company content to social media. But when I was introduced to this, and it was 5 years ago I came across this, I thought it was insane that thousands of dollars were being paid each month. And these third-party companies were using these dollars to populate their own Twitter profile with your company content or their own YouTube channels with your company content, driving up their followers and their subscribers and never really benefiting your company for the future. The conversation I had with the CEO that I first worked with when I came in to rebrand Guiani Metals, I was shocked at what they were paying a company to populate Twitter, their own Twitter, the third parties, company's Twitter, and said to the CEO, why are we not building our own Twitter and posting this content there and building our own following to have for years to come? And he kind of looked at me and said, well, if you can do it, go for it. Well, of course I could do it. We've worked on Twitter for years and other social media platforms for other companies. And there you had it. That's what launched Stock Marketing. And like I said, and I have said all the way through these webinars, it's more important to build your following than pay a company to post your content on theirs. They may have a larger database, a larger following, a larger subscription list, but it's like going to the gym. Until you start, you're never going to build anything up. And there's no sense paying these other companies the money they're looking for to populate their profiles, their platforms, their accounts. So with that said, literally, public companies have been paying an insane amount of money, and these third parties have really used it to grow their own brand. And now it's time, I believe, it's time for you to grow yours. So we're going to roll into YouTube. We'll start things off there today. YouTube was actually co-founded by three Americans back in February of 2005. It was actually one of the co-founders uploaded a video of himself at the zoo. It was the first ever YouTube account. And 20 months later, the three of them sold YouTube to Google for $1.6 billion. Insane. But YouTube now boasts over 2 billion monthly users. 74% of all North Americans have used YouTube in the past. Other stats here that would convince a mining executive to use YouTube to generate exposure. Data like, the average adult in North America spends 42 minutes a day on YouTube. 51% of B2B decision makers do their research on YouTube. So, you can either Netflix and chill, or you can YouTube and buy. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to look into YouTube and how we can actually go about using it for marketing to investors. So, like any other social media account, to build a profile for YouTube, you need a free Google profile for yourself in order to launch the account. Just like other social media platforms we talked about and looked at in the past, use your company logo as the profile image. Build a cover image there that's consistent with the others that you've used on other social media platforms. Make sure it's fitted properly and keep it consistent with designs you've already used. Inside the bio section, really important. People are going to look at this for content for your company. Add your stock ticker symbols. Make sure your website's listed here. YouTube's actually going to allow you to add links to other social media accounts and link off to it. So when you are populating your YouTube channel, make sure you fill out all the content that you would have added to your LinkedIn profile, or the bio that's found on the front page of your website or your About Us section. Get it all here into YouTube, because not only are people going to watch your videos that are going to be there, they're also going to do some more research on your company while they're there as well. Posting, well, this is where I believe you've already got the content that you need, from any of the third-party interviews, and all the companies out there. We can name 20 or 30 of these providers. Your executives are there, completing these interviews for your company. The provider should agree to email you what you're looking for is an MP4 file. It's the video. It's just like if you take it on your cell phone and you share it with others. It's called an MP4 file. And you ask permission, and I would of any of these providers, and we do for our clients, if you can upload it to your own YouTube account. After all, you paid for the services. And why do you want to do this? Because it will allow you to generate subscribers to your own YouTube account, and all features that you're uploaded will be seen by these subscribers. So rather than just allow this third-party company to post it on their YouTube, maybe they have 1,000, maybe they have 10,000 subscribers. But the only way for you to start building this database, this following, this list of subscribers, is to start posting your own content. It's exactly why you want to build your own content on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You want to build a following of investors that you're going to have for years to come. So this is a great way to do it. So once your YouTube account profile is completed, there's a nice easy button there that says select upload video. And all you have to do is choose the MP4 file that you've received from your third-party interviews provider, and upload that from your computer. It's really that easy. You get a chance to choose, the cover image. They give you 3 options of images that were shot during your interview. You can use that as your cover, or you can build your own if you're savvy at Photoshop or other graphic software. Build your own cover and add it in. It's the image that everybody will see as they're scrolling through YouTube to decide to watch your video. And most important is your title. Add something exciting. Maybe it could be the same title the third party provider added to their YouTube channel, or add your own. Make it exciting and make someone want to click in and learn more about the interview. Is it about a recent investor presentation update? Is it an update on the project? Whatever the title is, make sure it's exciting and catchy. And in the description below, add as much content as you're allowed, regarding the interview and your company as well. Get a little bit of the bio into that and why the interview is important. There, when you upload, you're allowed to add some tags to the video, just simple keywords that might, pertain to your sector or industry, and add words like stocks and investing, your stock exchange, your symbol, key things that might get somebody back to learn more information about your company. And finally, choose to make your video public. You get 3 options: private, when people are testing things out. Sometimes they want to, hide it to make it that only people that have the link can see more information. Not you. You want this to be public. You want as many viewers and as many subscribers as possible. And most importantly, YouTube's going to give you a share link pertaining to each and every video. Get a hold of this link, and this is the link you want to add to your social media accounts. You want to put on your website, maybe in a media section area. All key, great information is going to be found by being able to click this link and make their way back to your YouTube videos. So other ideas for videos. We're just talking about, the interviews that your executive team do, but you might have footage from your geologist of your property, or the last time you visited, the mine site. Grab some video. There's such easy ways on computers these days, to use the video. iMovie, if you got a Mac, narrate the video, narrate the drone footage, put together a video. You're going to get an MP4 when you save it and publish it. And that's what you're going to be able to use on YouTube to, post as more information. Fill out the titles correctly and descriptions of each video. But any video possibly shot of your property, your executives giving a presentation at an event, any advertisements you may be airing on BNN potentially as a mining company, any of these videos, ask for permission and add them to your YouTube account. It'll add more content for people to watch on your YouTube account. And obviously, it's going to build your subscribers. Most importantly, return to YouTube often. People will leave comments. Make sure to say thank you for any positive feedback. And if you notice any questions there, just like somebody calling your office, if they have a question regarding your company, it's a great chance to answer it there. If it's a big, lengthy answer you need to give them your email address. Say, for more information, reach me directly. Let's chat further. YouTube, incredibly important. The stats are showing it. People are spending hours on this platform. Most televisions, go and buy a TV now in Best Buy. There's an actual YouTube app right there in the television. People can scroll through. You never know when people are going to have a chance to capture your attention, and make sure you have it out there and post to YouTube. Second half of today's webinar, we're going to review podcasts, and specifically podcasts from mining companies. Definitely something you've never considered before. But again, with stats like this, you can no longer overlook this or ignore podcasts for coming in and grabbing the attention of investors. And really, the reason why this opportunity is booming is because you can listen to a podcast while you're doing other things. Investors could be at their desks, working. You can be on a treadmill, exercising with earphones in, driving the car, walking the dog. I mean, you can do almost anything, listen to a podcast at the same time, just as you could listen to music. So unlike other social media platforms or watching YouTube videos, you've got to be focused there on the screen. But you can actually absorb content from podcasts while you're doing anything during your normal daily routine. Podcasts are easily accessible. They're on your Apple or Android phone, on your tablets, your computers. Little wonder why 40%, what are we at? 41% of North Americans are listening to a podcast each month. That was compared actually to a stat I heard not long ago where more Americans each week are listening to a podcast than they're going to church on a Sunday. So as you can believe, that's a pretty big number. 45% of these here listed household income over 75,000 US. 52% are over the age of 35. I mean, only 3 years ago, there were 500,000 podcasts. Now there's 48 million of them. So if you want to grab some market share, if you want to capture the attention of those listening to podcasts, be found on the directories, it's time to start building them. So let's look at how we're going to get access and how we're going to do this. So completing your podcast profile compared to the other social media platforms and that, it's not easy, and I will admit it. There are third-party providers that allow you to be able to upload these episodes, we're going to call them, and I'll describe that a little bit more on how to do it. But have a look for the providers that are out there that allow you to build the podcasts on, and 3 major platforms. There are many others. Google Play, if you have an Android phone, it's a button right there in your phone, allow you to listen to the podcast that go up into Google. If you have an Apple, you can see right there, you got a podcast app that's sitting on your Apple phone. When you automatically turn it on, there it is. And that accesses you to the directory of podcasts that are created. Spotify, another huge, music database of songs that you get access to. You can pay for subscriptions, but they're inside Spotify as well. They're all the possible podcasts that have ever been created. So have a look, do your certain research online for the providers of building and accessing podcast channels. And once you get into this, it's just like, building a YouTube account, I guess we'll say. You can add your logo as your, clickable little app button there inside the podcast. Add a bit of a bio and description to the company. Make sure your branding is consistent, as we've said all along with any of your social media platforms, like your website, your investor presentation. Keep your marketing consistent. People will recognize you quite easily, and make sure to use the same logo across all of these different accounts. These third-party software creators are out there. They're free. With each of them, you can add your company information. As you can see here in our example, I guess this would have been brought up on an Apple phone. There's Longcore Gold's logo right there. Their stocks, symbols, their exchanges they're found on, a little bit of bio below, and then all the episodes are found right below that. So it can take a few weeks for your podcast channel to be added to Google, Apple, Spotify. So definitely be patient, and I promise it's going to be worth it. So for your podcast channel to really populate on Google, Apple, and Spotify, and again, like I've said, there's dozens of other platforms. These are definitely the three most listened to. You have to have at least one podcast episode to be able to create these accounts. So when I'm referring to a podcast episode, what I'm really talking about is an audio file. Popular podcasts, and you've probably heard of the Joe Rogan Experience or Crime Junkies. Some of these are at the top of the list for any of these platforms for those listening to podcasts. Each of these episodes are, where the host, discusses a different topic or has a different guest for each show. But what I'm referring to when I talk about a podcast episode from a mining company, each episode can actually be one of the interviews your executives have done for a third party company. So similar to the file that you would have used when you uploaded to your YouTube channel, like we just spoke about, this video file can also be uploaded to your podcast channel. So think about this. You're taking the audio from the interview and adding it as an episode. And you can see the ones there for Longcore Gold. There's their CEO with interviews across other platforms. We've taken the video file, the MP4, and used the audio, just uploading the MP4 to these podcast opportunities. So for each of these episodes, we've included the same title and description as we would have for YouTube. Make sure to add a source. And something I should say about YouTube as well, when you're adding these videos or we're adding this file to a podcast, make sure in your description you note the source. Any of the third-party providers definitely want to have their company name in there. And so they deserve it. They, produce the content. So make sure to recognize the source of when these are populated. But unlike other social media accounts like Facebook and YouTube, there's no way for listeners to leave a content here. So there's no need really to go back and review your account for any engagement. Always go back and check your analytics. You can monitor how many people have listened to your podcast or how many have clicked a subscription button on Google, Apple, Spotify. That information is there. And most importantly, remember, podcast channels are free. So definitely take advantage of this opportunity. The stats are there and the numbers are there. Podcasts are being listened to while people are in their car, running on a treadmill, walking the dog. We know they're being used. They're growing faster than ever. 500,000, podcasts a couple of years ago are now 48 million. They're there, they're being used, and people are absorbing, content. And definitely investors and mining companies are looking for content there as well. So find your way in, find a way to build them. It's not that difficult. Lots of information online. And I think we've probably given you some great ideas and content to post and ways to really take advantage of having a podcast out there. So that's it. We're usually within 15 minutes. We're not too far off. That's our 5th week of webinars. One more to go. Next week, we're going to talk about email distribution and web notifications. 2 other key areas I think you're going to find access to get to public companies and for you to get your access into investors and get their eyeballs or ears to communicate your message and more information about your company. Any questions? The right-hand side in the chat area is always a great way right now to ask anything. Hopefully I covered enough about YouTube and podcasts to encourage you to spend some time today for your company to look into creating your accounts on both. Jessica, Fareed, Matt, Brad, Kevin, always great to see all of you. Familiar names. Kevin, always great to chat with you from the UK. Matt and Brad are off in Vietnam. I don't know what time of the day it is for us to have you here with us, but always grateful for your time and for your dedication to this. 10:15 p.m. Well, we're not too late. For those who would like to look back, we've got these 4 webinars from previous weeks. They are online. I'll type in actually the link here. You'll be able to click into it. And always to learn more about our services at Stock Marketing, make your way into stockmarketing.ca. But specifically, if you're after any of the past information we've shared, all of the webinars can be found at stockmarketing.ca/Scott. And most importantly, my calendar is on there. If anybody would like to chat for 20 minutes about online marketing for public companies, specifically mining companies, make your way in there. I am always available and always looking forward to chat further and provide more information on our knowledge, our expertise, and to hear more about your company's story. Nothing further then. I am happy to have had you with me today for the 5th week. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to seeing you next week. And it'll be our final 6th week of webinar series. Thank you, everyone. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Have a great day.